Good evening. My name is Councillor Leanne Andreessen, and I am the 2023 North Perth Budget Chair, and I'll be chairing this meeting. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Welcome to the special budget meeting for the Municipality of North Perth. Today is Wednesday, January 11th, 2023, and I note the starting time for the minutes will be 7 o'clock p.m. Let's begin with our national anthem. Please stand if you are able for the singing of O Canada. Thank you. Our territorial acknowledgement is, we acknowledge that we are in the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe peoples. We wish to acknowledge and recognize the long history of Indigenous peoples of Canada and show our respect to them today. We recognize their stewardship of the land. May we all live in respect of this land and live in peace and friendship. Tonight's meeting is being streamed live on the Municipality of North Perth's YouTube channel and will be available after the meeting as an archived video. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded, and their voice, image, and comments will form part of the live stream. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed necessary. Circumstances may include instances where the content of the debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Thank you for your decorum over the course of this meeting as we work collaboratively together. Welcome to those joining by YouTube channel, also to those joining the meeting online virtually. And welcome to our councillors who are here this evening, staff and delegations participating in this meeting. Please ensure that all handheld devices are silenced and turned off for the duration of the meeting. Tonight we do have attendance regrets from Councillor Matt Richardson. Otherwise, all councillors are here. Our Deputy Mayor and Mayor are in attendance as well. In preparing for this process this evening, it has certainly been a team effort. I would like to acknowledge the great work of the committee, and this committee is our Budget 2023 committee. We have co-chair Neil Anstead, who's our councillor, interim manager of corporate services and treasurer Francis Hale. We have deputy treasurer and asset manager coordinator Becky Belfour, manager of strategic initiatives Jessica McLean, and our communications coordinator, Tiffany Anger. And thank you to this team for all your preparations and your ongoing work for this 2023 budget for the municipality of North Perth. Item 2 in our agenda is regarding pecuniary interest. Provincial legislation requires councillors with a potential pecuniary or financial interest in any item at the council table to declare this interest and remove themselves from discussions and voting on the items. Councillors are required to inform the clerk of pecuniary interest in writing. Councillors are reminded that at any time through the course of this meeting, they can inform the chair of a potentially pecuniary interest. I invite any councillors to share potential pecuniary interest during this public session. And does anyone wish to declare a pecuniary interest at this time?
No, but I do have a dead microphone.
Oh, okay.
I have no lights. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Maybe it's a good thing you can't hear me. It wasn't a joke.
Thank you. We'll get Simon on that for sure. Okay, seeing no declarations of pecuniary interest, we'll move on. Tonight's meeting will be a little less formal than usual with a few relaxed rules for debate. We will be following tonight's agenda. Our focus tonight will be on preparing for the 2023 budget process. So we're now on item 3 of the agenda. And I would like someone to move this agenda for tonight's meeting. Sarah, and we'll move that, and seconded by Neil Enstedt, Councillor Enstedt. Okay, could we have that vote, please, Sarah? And Deputy Mayor Kellum is fine here. He supports the motion, and so does Councillor Rothwell. And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, item number 4 on our agenda is regarding consent agenda. And to my knowledge, we don't have any items listed for the consent agenda this evening. Item 5 on the agenda is delegations and presentations, and this evening we don't have any public delegations or presentations booked for this meeting, and this will move us on to our next item on our agenda, which is now 6.1, regarding public engagement summary of our survey. So we'll be calling Tiffany Anger, Communications Coordinator, to come forward. Tiffany's going to provide some important feedback and highlights from our community survey. These highlights were from our public survey that was extended from late August up until early December. At that time, it gave the public an opportunity to share their ideas and input around this upcoming 2023 budget. As a council, we really value the input of our community, and we want to make sure that our community understands that we do truly look at our survey results. So we felt it was important to ground this meeting tonight with our community input, and Tiffany will be doing that through a presentation this evening with some of those highlights. And we'll turn it over to you, Ms. Anger.
Thank you, Councillor Andreessen, and good evening, Council. So we have put together kind of a high-level overview of the budget survey results, focusing on the main concerns that are currently facing the municipality. Essentially what we've done is kind of eliminate the topics that received the lowest response rate in order to more easily visualize the priorities. So the first one here, our respondents were asked to pick their top 5. There was originally, I believe, 17 options for this, so we've narrowed it down, and then their highest concerns. So as you can see on this one, the top for this was traffic issues, followed by healthcare recruitment, and then we had general infrastructure in third, and close 4th and 5th are property taxes and crime and criminal activity. This way? Can you help me to the next one? Thank you. So our next question was to have our respondents select the 3 service areas where they want to see more tax dollars spent. So this was kind of split somewhat into our departments and then with some additional topics as well. But Public Works came in first for this one, followed by Facilities, and then Special Initiatives in a close third. The other three, again, were Bylaw Enforcement, Long-Term Care Facility, and our Health Unit. And opposite to that question was where they would like to see less tax dollars spent. So this one was a pretty obvious for first and second. It was our options that were our county and shared funding. So that's the Stratford Perth Museum and the archives. And then in third place for this one, we had economic development. So we asked our community members to kind of rate, I don't know if you remember this question from the last one, but it was rate their satisfaction for the delivery of our services. So I kind of eliminated most of the answers that we had and just focused on the ones that required the most room for improvement. So that one was roads for all types of transportation, residential, commercial, and industrial development, and then also the annual property tax amount. And then lastly, we had just left an open-ended question for any additional comments that our community members wanted to provide. So this is probably familiar from our last one, but where they'd like to see more tax dollars spent included streetlights, law enforcement, healthcare recruitment, some requests for indoor pool and restaurants, more affordable housing, the truck bypass and infrastructure came back up again. And the options for less funding included our staffing, our county options, and climate change. And that's kind of a quick overview. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Angerd. Do any councillors have any questions or comments about the survey? No? Okay. Thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate that. Okay, we're moving on the agenda on to 6.2, which is thematic opportunities. So at this time, I'm just going to explain the process and how we're going to look at the themes of what we raise in terms of our ideas and input for this upcoming budget. So during our discussions, our Deputy Clerk, Sarah Carter, will be taking notes and putting them up for visual reference. She'll be organizing the notes in 4 categories, and you can see them on the screens at this time. The 4 categories really connect to our strategic plan. So the first one is about strategic initiatives. The second theme will be about roads. The third theme will cover services, amenities, and facilities. And the fourth theme will cover community well-being and safety. So as councillors speak and provide their input, Sarah can organize the ideas and the input according to these 4 areas, which link our strategic plan. During this process, with your permission, we may relax the rules of debate a little to allow for the flow of discussion. The process will involve going around the council table to seek input from each councillor. The process will involve each councillor providing about 3 key ideas for input to begin for the budget. And these ideas can pertain to either capital expenditures or operational expenditures. Essentially, this process is a visioning process. As we go from person to person at the table, we may see some recurring themes. So I might anticipate, hearing a number of councillors wanting to talk about housing. So Sarah will indicate that on the chart, I believe with a code to show that that's going to be weighing heavier if 2 or 3 or more councillors are going to talk about the same topic, which is totally fine if you want to repeat a theme that's already been shared by a councillor. After we have the opportunity to go around once to hear each person, each councillor's 3 ideas, we will go around one more time because it may provide you an opportunity to do a wrap up, provide any further ideas that might come to mind as you hear the discussion of our fellow councillors. So let's see. I'll be watching our time carefully through this process as well. And if I think we need to move things along, I'll let you know. And our hope is to keep this meeting to no longer than about 9:30 this evening. So I think that's how the process will begin. And I think we'll move now to item 6.3, which is the actual beginning of the process for the council visioning session. And I warned Councillor Rothwell that he would be on the hot seat first. So we're going to kind of go around the table this way, beginning with Councillor Rothwell. And we're happy to hear your input first on your first 3 key themes for the budget coming up.
Good. Thanks very much, Chair Andreessen, and good evening to the Budget Committee and staff. Sometimes being first off the hop is good, and sometimes it's not. Anyways, my priorities are in a broad stroke. As my first term on council, the last 4 years, I think we've had a recurring issue with some of our capital works projects, and it's no one's individual fault. It's just a matter of things with the pandemic as well as where the costs have gone. But my priority on the capital side is to see a number of the projects that were approved previously in 2022, for example, that we didn't get to. For example, we didn't get to one of the projects for the downtown Parkette, for example. And I don't care which particular project, it's just a matter that those projects that were approved in that previous year should, if they have that merit, they should sort of be the priority for our staff and council and staff to move forward so that we can see progress. So that's a general, I would say, is and we haven't gone through this, but I believe that there's a number of projects that we just didn't get to. So that's overall would be my number 1 priority on the capital side. A second one would be, and this is both operations and a capital project, but it's the continuing to put funds towards our bypass project here, and there's work, as we were told, on public works side that have to be undertaken in order to move the project forward. The expectation is a scary one in terms of when we looked at the dollar amounts. Upwards of 2.4 million, I think, was the max side. So we need to be putting funds aside to be able to make that project happen in this 3 to 5 year time frame that we've been talking about. And third, and not least important, is our affordable housing projects and initiatives. I believe that we know, and we've all spoken about this during our campaigns, and certainly when we talk about it in our community, the importance of affordable, attainable housing. It has not gone away. The need is crucial, and I believe that there's things that we as a municipality need to do now, and whether it's to update our website or whether it's to look at our zoning regulations and official plan policies, or whether it's on the other extent, it's truly developing some of our lands that we own as a municipality. There's a great range of things in there, but I would hope that in our budget of 2023, that we will have specific targeted investments that are going to move those projects forward in a timely manner. So those are my 3 that I would put forward for this council for committee for consideration here.
Councillor Rothwell, thank you. I'm going to put you on the spot one more time, and I'm going to ask you, could you identify one key thing about housing that you would like to see in the budget that would help us move it forward?
My suggestion, and that's not just mine, but when we did have the Mayor's Task Force on Affordable Attainable Housing, was provisions that are in our municipal bylaws, is on our website, is basically a service where we are encouraging and supporting property owners that wish to put second or now apparently third units within their dwelling anything that we can do to help and support individuals to provide that additional space within their existing dwellings would be beneficial both for the property owner as well as those that are living within those newly created units. And I think it would certainly help our municipality as well in terms of utilizing existing services that are already in place, both for water and sewage, as well as our other investments that we have in terms of hard services like sidewalks and roads. So that's my suggestion. Thank you.
So secondary units would
Yes,
be the
secondary
key.
units.
Secondary units, okay. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to Councillor Nordham. Welcome.
Chair Andreessen. So with the 2023 budget underway, we have to look at our internal issues and our external issues. When I look at our internal issues, we are a growing community, which might not be the issue, but more or less our growing pains. With aged infrastructure, and not to get started with our traffic issues. When we look at our external issues, I can't help but look at the rapid inflation with 7 interest rate hikes the past year of 2022. This is creating the perfect storm for Canada and our community. The way it looks to me like the cure might be worse than the disease. And with the recent passing of Bill 23, we'll be losing a significant amount of revenue for development because we all know that development pays for development. And it's unfair for our current property owners and many farmers and rural residents to be paying for the developments for the towns. It really shows to me the federal government is the one that makes all the money. The province is the one who makes all the rules, and the municipalities are the ones with all the problems and just a few cents on the dollar to solve them. That's why I'm asking council to add a line in the property taxes with a column that reads the provincial housing tax, so that ratepayers will be able to see the financial implications of Bill 23 and what revenue we need to recuperate from the passing of that bill. We have some tough decisions to make. A major downside is what we leave today might cost more tomorrow. So that's my first key item. For my second item, we are looking at our budget survey highlights. I see roads and public works as one of the top areas where people would like to see more investment put in. I think North Perth is doing a decent job with our roads and rural roads, but there's always room for improvement. A thing I've been hearing from people, they would like to see more ditch maintenance on the rural roads. So I'd like to see more money towards our summer mowing budget. Possibly the purchase of a boom mower, the ability to mow deeper in some of our ditches. This will ensure more visibilities on our corners and for oncoming wildlife. And also, this grass will act like less of a snow fence, so that snow can blow across the road and not build up. So this will save money possibly on our snow removal budget and also time-consuming ice building. This was a service that was done in the past, but was cut. And now we're starting to see more saplings, dogwood, and glyphosate-resistant weeds on our roadside ditches. Another key idea would be to raise the sidewalk for some of our for some more accessibility in Atwood. With construction scheduled soon, I believe we should work with MTO and local businesses in that area to create more accessibility to some of those local businesses. With that block scheduled to be ripped up, I believe now is the time to work on that. I've seen some neighboring municipalities have done projects like this, and I've been very impressed with how those projects turned out. Those are my 3 key ideas.
Thank you for the detail. Appreciate it. Very good. One of the things, Tiffany and Sarah, just wondering about adding snow fencing for to help with rural roads and snow removal, right? So I just didn't see that captured up there. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Johnston up next.
Madam Chair, if you would grant me a little bit of liberty to stand when I start, you'll see my point in a minute.
Okay.
So I have worn working clothes because my point is hard work. We need to get down to work and recognize 3 different levels, and no, they don't smell like the barn, they are brand new. Fran, you said you wouldn't laugh. So there is three levels of hard work, or three layers. I want to recognize our staff for the hard work they put into this. Becky, Fran, Chris, all our department heads on the budget. But I also want to remind council about the hard work it takes to come up with a fair budget. A budget that represents the hard-working residents and ratepayers that we have. And those people that work hard for their money that we gather some of. So I just want to remind us about the hard work that goes into everybody's area of expertise, whether staff, council, or our ratepayers. That's one of my points. Second point is the recurring theme during the election was the new people that are in North Perth. Whether it was in Listowel, Atwood, rural residents, rural ridings out in Wallace and Alma, there's a lot of new people. And we need to keep those new people here and get them to learn our services, use our recreation, spend their money in town. So to me, some economic development that way, some education that way, to get these people that are working in Toronto. I remember speaking with the deputy mayor as he was campaigning, about a whole block of people that drive to Brampton and Vaughan. Well, we want those people to shop here, to play hockey here, to spend their recreation on our trails and stuff. So that's an education point from us and an economic development point for me. And my third one, and I didn't get very specific tonight, as you can see. My third one, I want to give Scott Richardson a great round of applause because he does a great job on our drains. But as our weather gets more extreme, and we have extreme weathers, tile drains become more important as we, North Perth, the breadbasket of Perth County of Southern Ontario, have to feed the world. And we need to keep our drains working. And Scott does a great job, and we need to continue that, whether we do an inventory of our municipal drains and continue on a more regular rotation on some of the cleanouts and stuff like that, because we all know the benefits of tile drains. And so for me, we need to help the farmers continue this great work Scott does and all the municipal drains do to feed the world. And that's my 3. Thank you for the little bit of liberty.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. For the first one that you shared, would that be also connected to welcoming newcomers
Certainly.
of all,
Yep.
to our community in general? Would that make sense?
And make North Perth it's that North Perth pride thing again that we all have and staff all has. And we want newcomers, to get that North Perth pride that they want to come to the Steve Kerr. They want to walk the trails. They want to go shopping here. You know what I mean? So it's that welcome to North Perth. Stay here. Spend your money here. Spend your recreation time here.
Yeah.
Contribute to this community. Like, not everybody around this table is born, raised on that same little knoll over by Britain that I am, and I've spent my whole life. But we have newcomers, relative, some newer than others. But that's what we want, more people like that contributing to North Perth.
Right. Thank you. Very valuable information. Thank you. Okay, Deputy Mayor Kellum, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Chair Andreessen. I'm taking a little bit of a different spin on this. A few weeks back, when you're asking about preparation for this, that we obviously were in a campaign this past fall, and what I did is I went back through my notes, probably 30 or 40 comments from residents that you all had. And mine is more or less about spending money, but being responsible, but for the future. Not necessarily for 2023, but start now. So I picked, I have 6 or 7, but I'll stick to 3 for now. And something that came up out in the rural was about our boundary road with Perth East. And several out in that area would like to start a revisit the paving of Road 140 from line 86 to line 72. and to start putting money in the reserves. I know that is a boundary road and it would take some discussion, but I heard that several times when I was out in the rural area. Second was with the downtown traffic. We experienced it. It was good for a while. We went back for different reasons. I had some residents say that we should be looking at purchasing 2 or 3 properties, again, for the future of the municipality, on Main Street, demolishing, straightening out the road, and eliminating one traffic light. And the positive comment that I had, the third comment is that the municipality needs to continue to focus on the big ticket items for the future, as well the risk items to the municipality. Let's keep doing 100% of 5 things rather than 5% of 100 things. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Callum. Thank you for your detail as well. It's some good ideas around the traffic concerns downtown, and those are good details. That's the kind of visioning that's going to help us move forward. Okay, I'm going to skip. I'll maybe do the last word and allow our next speaker to be Mayor Kasenberg.
Thank you, Councillor Andreessen. So tonight I've, like Deputy Mayor Kellum, have a long list, but some of these themes have been picked up upon already. Let me speak briefly to the issue of the affordable housing plan. Near the end of the last term of council, we approved a short-term plan with an expectation that something a little bit more grand and more sophisticated and certainly more involved would emerge. And I'm thinking at this point that we may want to certainly ensure the relevant funding for the short-term plan that council has already seen, but also begin to anticipate that the next version, the more evolved version, will require some funding, and we may want to just put some aside for that purpose. It's something that, as a strategy that we talked about last year, putting aside some extra funds for special initiatives, and I don't think there's one that's more significant at this point than housing. So I think that would be my first point, is begin to evolve the next iteration of the plan and also anticipate in budget what some of that may cost. The second one is a new item. It has the last facilities review was conducted in the municipality in 2007 and released to council in 2008. So some on this council, Deputy Mayor perhaps, would have been there when that was released. I think we're at a point with this many years past that it's time to conduct an assessment of current facilities and do a facility review report again. And part of that is to figure out what the state of all of our current facilities are. Some of that work is being done through the asset management process, as asset management specialist Belfour will attest to. But I think we also need to be thinking about and starting to project the needs for the rapidly growing community that we have when it comes to our facilities. So I would like to see allocated a budget for the engagement of a consultant for a thorough facilities review. My third point, relating to one of the key priorities noted by our residents who responded to the survey, is that I think we need to increase funds that we allocate to shave and pave operations for pavement in the municipality and other types of maintenance, especially for some of the worst roads in the area. These roads may not technically fall below the usability standards that are used, but some of them are not great. And I will argue, and I know it's being really simplistic, that if municipal councils have one job to do well, it's getting roads right. And so I'm hoping that we can move the needle through asset management assessments of our roads and actually add some money to our budget to get more shave and pave operations done in some of the most egregious roads in the community. The ones that come to mind, and I'm sure each of you can find some, Nelson from Main to Kincaid is not in great shape right now. Victoria from Main Street to Elma is not in great shape right now. And I do not know, I can't comment because I didn't ask Mr. Couch whether they do well on asset scoring or not, but those roads are roads that citizens complain about and are concerned about. And so I would like to see us invest a little more in shave and pave and the types of maintenance that can be done to preserve the lifespan of those roads in this coming year. I think that's three. You asked for three, that's three.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think we've captured that up there. Thank you. Councillor Duncan.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen. So I guess my first one is in relation to the current inflationary climate. I'm going to ask staff to take a long, hard look at all their budgets. I'm not going to give any numbers to say, I want you to save 2% or 5%, but I want you to shave them down the absolute best you can because everybody's facing these inflationary pressures. And I know municipal spending is also facing inflationary pressures as well. But one of my items is I ask that you shave them down as tight as you can this year. My second item is a capital item. I'm going to ask that we look at adding Arthur Avenue in Trowbridge to our paving list for this year. That street had crushed asphalt put on it a number of years back. It's completely deteriorated. It's being plowed off onto the residents' lawns now, and the road's falling apart. So I think we need to look at putting some asphalt on that street for the residents that live on that one. And my third item kind of goes back to what Councillor Johnson discussed about drainage. We have a lot of rural roads that have water issues. Some of them have poor bases under them, but it all goes back to water. And I'd like to maybe have some research done on more innovative ideas to get the water away from the road base to help them in the spring and fall when they start to fall apart on us. If anybody's drove around and seen some of them, when there's potholes that could swallow up a small car, and then because of the water's coming up through the road, I think that we need a more innovative idea than just digging the road out and rebuilding. I think we need to look at the drainage down both sides of the roads and try to get the water away to our municipal drains. And that's my three items.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Just before I move forward, somehow I'd like to capture in our chart a theme that's been recurring through our team, and that's about responsible budget approach, responsible spending. I'm not sure how to capture that up there, but perhaps you can come up with a way to do that, but it's a recurring theme, so that's it's good that we capture that. Thank you. Councillor Blazek.
That's the first line item on that I had written down here was, I'm sure my husband would say otherwise, but I don't like spending money. I very much dislike spending money. I really have a hard time. I'm having a hard time with my first kick at the can here, sitting with you all and discussing the budget, because while spending money is absolutely necessary, it's very hard right now, given the economic climate and inflation. And so I just wanted to talk about and really stress the importance of cutting where we can and spending taxpayer dollars responsibly. That being said, spending money is necessary. I think that I would like to see increased funding for physician recruitment. I know that for physician recruitment and hospital staffing is a provincial issue, but I really firmly believe that appealing to physicians, drawing them into our community is a municipal issue. North Perth needs to be a place where, and it already is a place, we need to find a way to show them that it's a place where they want to come, they want to put down roots, they want to service our community. I would also like to see more room in the budget for youth and adolescent recreation that is not specifically sports oriented or religiously affiliated. I think that this could include, but certainly not be limited to, the Galbraith Camp project that we discussed on Monday night. And then the third item, I, like Deputy Mayor Kellum, went back to my notes while I was talking to community members during my campaign, and since then, and something that had been mentioned several times to me was looking into increasing lighting along certain areas of the walking trail that are within listable limits, Atwood limits, community limits, to make those trails safer for people who want to walk the trails, make use of our amenities after 4:30 in the afternoon when it gets dark in the winter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Blazek. Some great ideas, additional ideas too that we haven't heard about, so that's great, thank you. Our co-chair for the budget process this year is Councillor Anstead, and we invite him to also share his input.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen, and through you, and thanks, Council, for the rest of all your comments this evening. Some of mine are going to seem like you've heard them before, probably because you have. The first I'm going to touch on is truck bypass infrastructure. I don't think that anybody's going to be surprised in my comments that we need to deal with this term. There needs to be action on this. Obviously, we tried the one-way street. It had its positives, had its negatives. However, we need to take serious action on this issue in this term of council. Touching on infrastructure, our roads are something that, again, they need some work. Some of them need more than others. Infrastructure is one of those things, if you let it get too far, you're never going to catch up on it. Again, we owe this to our current residents and also our future residents, getting people that are already here to have good roads that they can drive on, and having people that are coming here to have good roads that they can drive on when they get here. Next is going to sound familiar, some of the other councillors have already talked about, but responsible spending. Again, our staff do a great job. My hat goes off to you guys. You work incredibly hard. I really want the staff to take a good hard look at our budget this year, particularly surrounding capital projects. Now, everyone will know there's legislated services that we're required to provide, and we, for the most part, don't have any say in those costs. They're fixed. However, in my mind, and what I would like to see when staff are looking at their projects this year, 3 key questions. One, is this critical right now? Or in other words, can this project wait? 2, will this expenditure or project provide value now and in the future for our residents? Finally, 3, does this project or expenditure have the possibility to be cost neutral or have limited expenses throughout the term of the project? Now, again, the answer to that question may not be a yes, but I think that's a question worth exploring. I don't think anybody needs to be, we don't need to repeat the current situation we're facing from the province with increased downloading, things like Bill 23. We have to make difficult decisions on our projects and our budget because, again, the decisions we make now are not just going to be for the 2023 budget. They're going to be 2024 and throughout this term of council. And finally, point 3, my last one. I think I brought this up in the last budget process. 2022 is reserves. Again, I really want to see some funds put into reserves. Deputy Mayor Callum talked about it for some of our future projects. If the last 2.5 years have taught us anything, it's that we can have all the planning in the world and we can do all the preparing in the world that we want. However, we can't prepare for everything. I think having funds in reserves is good practice, and we need to do it again, and it will serve our municipality well in the future. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair Anstead. I'm just making sure we captured your questions. So number 1 was, is it critical? Number 2 was, does it provide value now or in the future? And number 3, is there an ability to be cost neutral with that? Is that right? Did we capture that properly?
That's what I had, yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it was captured correctly, but that's what I had, sorry.
Great. Thank you. It's been recorded. I just wanted to make sure we captured that properly up there. Thank you. Okay, if possible, I'd like to share my 3 items as councillor as well. And like all of you, I was on the campaign trail and heard many comments from our constituents, and some of those will be reflected in what I will be sharing. My very first key theme tonight will be about the Transportation Master Plan. I've heard the stories of how this has been an ongoing issue for 50 years, and I get frustrated with that kind of timeline, and I feel that we need to move forward and use the time that we have in the next 4 years to do the phasing that we need to do to make the improvements that are required in this, especially in our downtown corridor. I'd like to echo the comments from Deputy Mayor Callum. I feel that there's possibilities for us to really create a 4-way stop or a four-way intersection in our downtown corridor instead of the three-way intersection. And I think that could make a huge difference in the timing of our lighting downtown. I know it's going to be at significant cost, but I think it's a detail. It's a possibility that probably could be of great benefit for us in our downtown corridor, and be just as beneficial as a bypass, I believe. I'd also like to add to that theme around some concerns around the intersection of Highway 23 and Line 88. I feel that this is an accident waiting to happen in that intersection. That intersection, you can wait 7 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes to make a left turn. And I think we're going to have to look at some kind of mitigation at that intersection, be it lights or be it hopefully a roundabout at some point. But one of those things could be installed sooner or later. And I know we're going to have to work with the province, but I think that's going to be important to make sure that there's that intersection is safer for our residents for sure. My second theme is around economic development. And I'm very passionate about economic development in our municipality because we live in the breadbasket of Ontario, as Councillor Johnston mentioned. This is an agricultural community that needs to continue to be celebrated. And we have an agricultural excellence strategy that we have looks, we will have a great impact here in our municipality through economic development. And I think adding some additional staff to support that strategic project would be very important so that we can really move forward with agricultural economic development. But I think this could also be helpful for our newcomers, like you mentioned, because a lot of our newcomers are very unfamiliar with agricultural practice. And I think we could do a lot more education with newcomers about the importance of agriculture and how it contributes to our economy here in North Perth. Thirdly, I'd like to echo many of my colleagues' comments around housing. And I think we really need to continue to extend the plan that was mentioned. We've got a short-term plan, but I think we need to move forward with what is this plan going to look like over the next 4 years and really detail that out. And I feel that I'd like to see something more tangible happen so that it's more than just, ideas, but actual help, actual assistance for those who are looking for affordable housing in this community. I think we're going to have to look at allocating land or, purchasing land for this purpose in the next 4 years for this, for this project. And that's going to be part of the strategic planning, I think, for housing in the long term. So those are my three comments at this time. And you can see on the chart so far, we've been able to capture our comments, and the chart is coming along well. And you can see some of the comments have already been allocated where you'll see times 3, times 2. That shows you the number of councillors who are essentially repeating this idea because they feel it's important. One of the things about our budget to remember is that we need to look forward to creating a multi-year budget, and we have new budgeting software that we're working on at this point, and this will help us begin to have a more multi-year approach. And that's to address some of your concerns, Councillor Rothwell, to look at how some projects take more than 1 or 2 years. It may be a multi-year approach with our budget, and that will hopefully start to happen through this multi-year approach with our new software. I'd like to go back around the table because you've heard everyone now at this point share 3 key themes, and you may want to recognize another theme. You might want to acknowledge, something else that's been said, and have that opportunity to have kind of the last word in terms of visioning right now. So I'm going to go back to Councillor Rothwell and give you a chance to share any more reflections that you want to share at this time.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen. Lots of great things and ideas that have been brought up. My next round here is we've talked about challenging times coming forward, and we've talked about the need to work together, hard work together. And I think one of the critical issues that I want to bring forward is the relationship with the county. Is that when we're talking about the master transportation plan, and we're talking about diversion of traffic potentially to the north and or south or both on 86, is that we need the county at the table, and we need dollars from the county to make that happen. I do not know if staff or county councillors have made that conversation directly with the county, but I think it's crucial, and I think it's necessary that the county be at the table to address that with us. As I say, I know that this is a longer-term plan, but when we look throughout other parts of Ontario, the county is at the table, and usually those roads bypasses are quite often county roads. So I'll put that out there as an important issue, and I think it's important if our county councillors share that. They can do that with our county council as they move forward into their budget deliberations as well. The second as well, but on the affordable housing side, the City of Stratford, as we all found out, is our consolidated service provider for affordable assisted living, social housing. The City of Stratford, as far as I know, has not created many or any units outside of the City of Stratford, even though they are responsible for all of Perth County. I do know that they are in the process of building the second multi-story apartment, which is definitely required in Stratford. However, the City of Stratford's budgets and population is about 43 or 44% of the county geographically. I would like our county councillors to talk to the City of Stratford as our consolidated service provider to show us plans that they're actually going to start looking outside of the city's boundaries, including North Perth specifically, obviously, that we can see a project move forward for affordable housing, for social housing in this community. I think it's way past time that we have those dialogue and discussions, and I have yet to hear any conversation about that. So I would hope if our county councillors, if this council agrees, and if our county councillors can take that to the city to show us a plan that's going to show the City of Stratford through the provincial dollars that come, or actually it's property owners all throughout Perth County that help pay towards that. But we need to see some bricks and mortar here as well. Those are my two other points. Thank you.
Thank you, and we've been able to capture that up there too. That two, I would say, new ideas at the table. Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Councillor Nordham.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen. I would like to very much echo the roundabout or the intersection of Highway 23 and Line 88 as well. And also, when I was talking about ditch maintenance and I see the snow fencing there, I was more or less meaning sometimes the grass gets a fair bit longer, so that creates a more or less a snow fence. So,
I see.
So that probably can come off if that's
okay.
If you're fine with that. Yep, that'll be mine.
Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen. I'd like to add a couple little things to something the mayor and deputy mayor added. So with the deputy mayor talked about paving Road 140. So I would like to expand that a little bit. I fully agree with paving that road, but it would double, triple the amount of traffic on it. And I think if we're looking at that paving of the road, I believe we should be talking to the county, and that should become a county road. So I believe, because I think the traffic on that road then would increase. So I would love to pave that road, but I would like the county to be involved in that and get them to possibly take that county road back over. I would like to add on, I love the idea of the facilities review that the mayor brought up, but I wonder if we add in, and we might be able to do this internally, but it would also help all of us, including our new councillors, is a land inventory that we own, which could add on to what you talked about, Chair Andreessen, about the affordable housing and how we can participate. Is I can't remember all the land that we own, pockets and acres here and lots here and parking lots here, and I can't remember it all. And I've been here a couple of years now. So if we did a land inventory along with the facilities review, I think it would be handy and helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. That's great. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, through you, Chair Andreessen, and good comments, and Councillor Rothwell as well. Point taken with the county remarks, and again looking at spending money, but spending money looking into the future and being responsible. We're getting out of land in the municipality all around North Perth, and I think we need to look at land that abuts or joins up to the municipality of North Perth and maybe have those conversations with landowners. We usually say that we are not in the real estate. However, we can't afford not to be in the real estate. The other thing I want to touch about on is Councillor Duncan alluded to earlier on, was about the percentages of the budget, and that can sway people one way or another. And I like to stay away, which we have in the past. And a good example is tomorrow. Mayor Kiesenberg, Councillor Duncan, and myself, we get our first look at the overall budget for Perth County, and it's huge. Like, we're almost looking $20 million, you know, and you look at, it looks like a 10%, but 10% to the county and 10%, it could be a little more to other people. It's about the dollar fact, but when it comes down to the specific, what it costs the average household, and if my number is correct, I believe it's around $55 per household and about $75 per farmland. It's not a lot. So if we stay away from the percentages, don't think that we have to decrease percentages, but just concentrate what is the final number and allude to something else, whether it's a couple pizzas, I don't know, whatever. It's not a large money or a large amount, but I just would like to stay away from the percentages of the tax increases that we are moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Kiesenberg.
Thank you. Some of the comments that have been made are really insightful, and I think they need to be reinforced, right? Bill 23 is going to shift the landscapes in a really substantial way. And we're starting to see reports now from cities and property around the GTA where they're beginning to assess the financial impacts on municipal governments. Those impacts, not fully in, but they're enormous. And so when you look at some of the proposed tax increases just to correct for Bill 23, you're seeing anything from 5%, which seems really modest, to 100%. I read 100% in East Gwillimbury is their projection of the impact of Bill 23 on their property tax. So we're going to be in very turbulent times, and people are going to be unhappy with the changes that come. And we need, as Councillor Nerdum said, I thought that was quite wise, and I've certainly made that point to staff before, to have an individual line item that says, here's the correction that was given to you as a consequence of Bill 23. So, we're going to have to be mindful of that. And sorry, I'm sharing a little bit of information and insight that has come to me around this issue. I think that I echo the comments, of course. I think Councillor Anstett made them passionately about the importance of us addressing the transportation master plan. I think we must put some money aside. We don't exactly know what that money is yet. We're sort of in the dark waiting for the consulting report to come forward to tell us how to proceed. But I think in 2023, we need to put some money there to show good faith that we intend to take action. And if that money's spent on engineering or early costs of moving forward, then that money needs to be there. I would also, and this is going to excite people, I'm sure, including the media, but I think we need to consider soon a consulting report into an approach to public transit in North Perth. I think we're coming to those days, and it might not be this term of council, it might be the next one, But soon enough, there'll be some demands for public transit that especially links north and south in our municipality, things that are not currently being done by PC Connect. And so I think it's time for us to start the exploratory work and anticipate what that could look like in a few years' time and what kind of investment might be required to achieve it. We have grown extremely rapidly. You know, we're in the top 4 or 5, depending on the measure that you look at, in all of Ontario. And I don't think that we can much longer defer a public transit solution of some shape or form in our community. I hesitate to say it because, you know, public transit is a beast that eats money, but it also provides service. And you know, as we think about the climate change that is washing over our world and the opportunity to reduce the number of vehicles on the road, this is part of that solution set. So I'm going to advocate tonight that we begin to think about funding a consulting report that looks at public transit readiness for North Perth. I have more, but I can wait if you want me to.
This is probably our final pass, so it's probably good
All
to
right.
bring them forth.
Yeah,
Yep, bring it on.
don't let me drag it out. Exactly. We saw in the citizen inputs some concern about crime, policing, and bylaw enforcement. And I have sort of certainly tracked this issue and felt the anxiety of the community about this issue as well. And while I'm not wildly enthusiastic about what I'm about to say, I think that we may want to start looking at cameras and enhanced security controls at various facilities in our community, especially when I think about it, considering the number of citizen concerns and complaints that have been registered over my first term as mayor. We're going to have to think about doing something with cameras in Memorial Park in Listowel. So I think that that might be something that gets into this budget or perhaps the year following. And I will point out to council, I know that we all talk about the importance of being fiscally mindful and prudent. But remember, based on last year's reports and last year's department reports, we are still running a staff deficit against the objectives that we have set forward as strategies and plans for our community. And so, you know, in the wisdom of looking in on this, we continue to talk about, you know, being tight and squeezing as much as we can, and staff, of course, always is very vigilant in those kind of activities. But I'll point out that really, when it comes down to it, there are only 2 discretionary areas of spend for us. Those discretionary areas are facilities and recreation and economic development. So when you talk about being more fiscally prudent or squeezing, you're talking about cutting in those realms. So you're not really talking about any other realms because largely those are mandated to us and given to us by statute. And we don't have a lot of wiggle room. You know, one example of that, of course, is in the last 3 or 4 years, the province has imposed on municipal governments, and probably wisely, I'm not saying this excessively critically at this point, the mandate for asset management. That's created a whole new realm of expenditure for us that we've had to absorb, and our taxpayers have to absorb that by that mandate. It's a good practice. I genuinely believe it's the right thing to do. But nevertheless, it's created more activity and therefore more cost, and we can't avoid it. So we need to be very aware when we talk about the choices that we make that we only have very narrow windows of opportunity to save, if you will, on budgets. And so much of what we do is mandated. Who was it who said, was it you, Councillor Johnston? Or no, it was Councillor Nero who said that the feds, the province, and us, well, we're down at the bottom of the pecking order, and we've got all the mandates, not all the money. And exactly right. So thank you for that wisdom and sharing it as succinctly as you did. Sadly, I'm not usually as succinct. So anyway, those are the extra things that I've sort of taken note of and that I'm excited about. Many great ideas are on the table tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Kasenberg. And move on to Councillor Duncan.
Okay, I've got a couple of things that others have brought up. The intersection improvements at line 87 and 23 are definitely something that we need to be looking at. And I think we could probably put that in as part of the transportation master plan to do some background work on what it's going to take to fix that intersection. The concern about crime and policing in our municipality, one thing I'd like to see more timely reporting from the OPP to council on where they're spending their time and what they're doing and how our money's being spent that we pay them. We used to get more reporting from them. I don't see it as often now as what we did when I first came on council. And I had one other thing that popped into my head when snow fences came up. I'd like to see maybe some investigation on where we can partner with some landowners for living snow fences within the municipality to help the climate change issue and the cost of moving snow. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Moving to Councillor Blazek.
I, like the mayor, got very excited when Councillor Nordham, brought up the idea of a line item talking about the ramifications of Bill 23 on your tax receipt or your tax bill. Like it a lot. Councillor Johnson was talking about the idea of taking a good long look at what we have for land. I feel like that would be incredibly beneficial in helping council make informed decisions. Because, we've all got a lot on our brains and we can't possibly remember all of that information, and I don't have it, so that would be helpful. Oh, and I also, sorry, Neil, I also really support the idea of doing something at 23 and 87, that intersection.
All right, thank you. Moving on to Councillor Anstett.
Thanks, Chair Andreessen. And again, yeah, that intersection traveled it quite a bit over the last few years, and yeah, we need to certainly have some action on that. I guess the last point I would make is just about economic development, and I can appreciate the mayor talking about it, and I know that there's not much we have in terms of what we can do, but where I would like to focus my comments is to see what's out there with private developers. Look around a lot of counties, Perth, Huron, Wellington, even Bruce and Grey counties. They've seen, even during COVID, they've seen a lot of investment from private investment, new hotels, new restaurants. And I guess I ask the question is, what do we need to do to get these businesses and these groups to come to North Perth? Our population is continuing to grow. It's going to continue to grow over the next few years. And I think that we owe it to our residents, not only our current residents, but our new residents, to see if there's opportunities there to have these things here in North Perth. If we were to have some of these things, we could have concerts here, we could have tournaments, we could have many different events that would have so many spillover effects for local businesses. I just think that it would go a really long way. And I guess the last comment I would make, I know we've already talked about the fiscal responsibility, and I guess for me it's trying to find a balance between the priorities that we've heard during the election campaign and heard from members of the community. Also recognizing that people are still under a lot of financial pressure, a lot. Inflation of 7%, mortgage rates going up, people selling their houses, it's not good out there. And I think that we really need to remember with this budget that we have to focus on what people are feeling and doing what we can as a council to help mitigate those issues as best we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Anstett. I'll have a few things I want to share for my comments too as a councillor. I would like to add that when I was going door to door and visiting the smaller communities of Gowanstown and Kurtzville, residents were actually showing me the dilapidated playground equipment and parks in those small villages. And in some of our areas in North Perth, we do have some very active service clubs and organizations that contribute to community development and community improvement. But unfortunately, in Wallace Township, we don't have organizations like that. And there are no organizations that are actively working for these communities in the background. So there are no new playgrounds. no new equipment, no new parks. And we really rely on the funding of the municipality to cover these small hamlets in Wallace Township for these kinds of amenities. And the former parks there are, like I said, have been torn down because the equipment was old and unsafe. And so the concern is that what's next? And how will that be replaced? And we see new developments with playgrounds and parks being developed with, these developments happening. It's just what's happening with the older developments and how can we ensure that there is equity with some of these older developments to have amenities like that too. So that's something I would like to see our facilities coordinator, Jeff Newell, look at as he looks at and considers implementing new playgrounds across North Perth. I would like to also talk a little bit about the work of our county colleagues with respect to transportation and how that's connecting North Perth to the region of Waterloo. Line 86 is a county road that's shared with other counties, and that road continues to be busier and busier with traffic, with trucks, and it's not getting better, and yet nothing's been done. I traveled that road for 31 years, and other than having it paved in a few sections, nothing's been done. And the concern is that with the increased traffic on that road, we are just opening ourselves up for more accidents to happen as traffic is struggling to move efficiently from here to the Waterloo region. Things that are happening right now on that road are risky passing and actually inefficient use of that road where we see agricultural equipment on it, which is fair, but it's hard to get around that equipment and that traffic is heavy. And it's inefficient when, you might be moving at 70 kilometers per hour and you can't get around traffic. You can't get around trucks. Something has to be done. And we aren't talking about it. Haven't heard anything about it for 31 years. We need to be proactive at the county table to see what can be done to improve that road. And it's going to take money, it's going to take budgets. I know you're talking about budgets at that table, and that road is servicing all of us. And to be honest, I see it as a road that's even more important than Road 140. Really. Something has to be done to improve that. Ideally, I would like to see passing lanes in certain sections, and those passing lanes might have to be in some of our other county areas, including Waterloo, but those talks need to happen. And if we don't advocate it from North Perth through our county colleagues, nothing's going to happen for 31 more years. So I please ask our county comrades to please do some advocacy at that table so that we can see some changes or plan for some changes on that road in the in the future so that we don't have to see risky traffic accidents and perhaps deaths happening on that road. So that's just my comments around what I've seen from my counselor door knocking and campaigning, and concludes my input tonight as a counselor as well. So through the process this evening, we've had the ability to do two rounds of input from all of us. We've been able to capture your input on the four categories, and our staff has joined us both virtually and in person to take notes this evening. I just want to thank Deputy Clerk Sarah Carter and Tiffany Anger for taking those notes this evening. And Becky Belfour has also been taking notes on behalf of staff. This provides a great visual record for us as a budget committee and for us as a council team to work on the the budget proposals. This information will be a helpful guide for our staff management team as well. It's good to see that we have some commonalities. You'll see up there the coding where we've got multiple counselors concerned on certain issues. That's really important to see as well. I would like council to keep in mind that budget costs are one component, but another component for us to consider is staff time. Because we could create and budget for many, many, many projects, but do they have the time and the capacity to complete all the projects that we have on the table for 2023? And that's where a multiple year budget is important to consider in the future. So I wanted to make sure that we're aware of not only the costs, but the capacity of our staff to complete these projects too. So at this time, I would like to close on the agenda items 6 to 6.4. I feel that we have been able to accomplish this evening a great set of ideas and capture that in the notes. And I'd like to move to item 7 in our agenda, if that's okay, unless any councillors want to add any additional comments. No? Okay, item 7 on our agenda is regarding reports. Do any councillors have any reports that they would like to request at this time, given that we've had a lot of discussion about money and budgets and stuff? Mayor Kiesenberg, go ahead.
The challenge of the exercise that we've had, which was wonderful, many good ideas, but now we've essentially tossed a ball at the staff and said, okay, go figure some of this out. And some of this, no doubt, will come back as not feasible. Mm-hmm. Some of this will come back as not this year. Let's, slate it down the road. So I think what we need to ask for from staff is a first response to these items wherein they look at matters of feasibility and timing. And I think that report could be brought back to a regular council meeting for our consideration. And certainly there may be occasions when staff recommends against something that we feel more strongly about, and as a council will give more clear direction about. But I think we need to see as the next step sort of a first response. My encouragement, if council agrees with us, with me on this one, is that we invite staff not to drill too deeply, but to give just top line, like don't spend hours figuring out feasibility and timelines at this point. I think it's a sort of quick response, maybe at the next staff meeting, saying which of these items, looking at each of these items and giving some kind of feedback. I don't know whether we should invite CAO Snell to offer comment on how staff might execute a process on this, but certainly I don't think we want our staff at this point chasing all of these ideas for 2023. I think what we want is to understand, what do we not understand as councillors, and there may be some education that is warranted. And what would be reasonable phasing and timeline given other projects that the staff are certainly more aware of on a day-to-day basis. So, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, can CAO Snell just sort of give us a little bit of feedback on that idea?
CAO Snell?
Thank you, Council. I think that's a fair exercise. Certainly some of these projects are actually, as Council knows, are underway and we'll be reporting back in 2023. Some of them are new and I think it's as prudent from the senior management level that we would go through these and like I said, give a first response back to council. I don't think that would be too difficult of exercise and to sort of put some probably very rough sort of costings and timelines around some of the projects.
So if I might, then I would like to move that we direct staff to bring a top-level response to the priorities that have been established at this meeting, and that such a report include assessment of feasibility and possible timeline and budget if available.
Just to clarify, Mayor Kiesenberg, would it be about the new initiatives versus initiatives that we already kind of have going? Like, I just want
Largely
to
the
clarify.
prioritization, like figuring out, feasibility and cost and timeline, addresses the newest of the items. But there may be other items that have been raised at this table tonight that are in progress, and perhaps it's just a matter of a brief educational explanation of where we are with those things, so that council knows and can make decisions whether to accelerate or to just let it flow as it's moving now. That's how I'm seeing it.
Okay. So not necessarily on new items.
I think all of them need to be itemized, and in some cases, it's already in progress.
And that's all that needs to be said.
And that's all that needs to be
Yeah.
said.
That's all that needs to be marked.
Yeah.
Or right field.
Okay. So that staff generate a report to determine the feasibility, timing, and staff capacity regarding budget priorities presented at the budget meeting. Okay. Someone second that motion? Councillor Duncan seconds that motion. And did you capture that, Deputy Clerk? Okay. Can we have that vote then? E-scribe.
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor as well. Anybody else?
I think that's it.
I think that's carried. Thank you. Sorry, I just got to get eScribe to work again. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have reports? Go ahead, Councillor Rothwell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Council, and the previous council had, a number of reports that were requested from staff, and many of those reports came forward and so on. I'm just not sure in terms of keeping track of everything that, in fact, all those reports came back to council. One report that I know that council did request, I don't think we've seen yet, is the update on the county official plan and where we're at in the timing specifically. What I am concerned about when we talk about municipally owned land, there's a fair bit of the municipally owned land that is in the agriculture designation, just north and west of the Steve Kerr complex and the school. That's all incumbent upon what's going to happen with the county official plan. There's a lot of things there. One other parcel which is already in the county official plan that does allow for development is the former Moore property. And I didn't specifically mention it because it was underneath a piece of paper here, but we need, my view is funds to move forward on that Northeast plan because it is municipally owned and there will be commercial lands in there and potentially industrial lands for available for development. So it's a project that is large and it's taken time and it will take money. But if truly we want to address, open up lands for development, there's something that we've been working on, but I can't recall specifically the timeline that we've talked about recently that's going to allow for that to occur. So perhaps in terms of the reporting, we could, because I mean, that's an ongoing project that we've talked about, and it's a crucial one because we own the lands, some almost 50 acres up there. So I think it's important that we hear specifically about that one in particular, as well as the county official plan, which I know will take time and it's taken a lot of time, but there's no guarantee when we're going to get this approved by the at the county, like officially in terms, and if we go through appeals, and then how it's going to get approved by the province. This is not a slam dunk, and it will, and unfortunately, it's holds up a lot of the land that the municipality of North Perth owns. And a lot of that, hopefully, is going to be for residential development, which we've seen early indications that that's exactly what we can justify in terms of population growth and so on. And we would be in the driver's seat if those lands are designated for residential development. We'd be in the driver's seat in terms of dictating what the type of development that we believe is prudent. affordable, attainable housing in particular. So it's related to the points, but it's ongoing projects. So if we could, if this committee agrees to request staff to deal with the report on the county official plan, as well as an update on the northeast lands. So again, Highway 23 east and south of Line 87 is what we're talking about specifically.
Okay. First of all, Councillor Rothwell, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask CEO Snell to speak about the county official plan, to perhaps give us a little bit more background and perhaps more information that might be forthcoming. CEO Snell?
Just because it's not our project, I don't necessarily feel that I'm the expert in the timing of the county official plan. I would feel more comfortable than asking the county staff to report their timelines back to the council, because they are rapidly changing from my assessment, and I'm certainly not feel more comfortable if the county staff made that report back to this council.
Okay, thank you, CEO Snell. Deputy Mayor Kellum?
Yes, through you, Chair Andreessen, and I can speak on behalf of that. I've had conversations recently with county staff, and our holdup is obviously natural heritage or natural environment studies coming back from them, but I am confident that we are going to see the official plan be completed coming to us in May. I'll go out on the limb and say that. I'm pretty sure before June it's coming back to this council. Thank you.
Okay. So Councillor Rothwell, regarding the report on the Perth County official plan, how would you like to move forward with that?
Through you, I believe, I mean, the request is there. I believe council made that request, and if I understand CEO Snell, the county staff have been asked to supply that report, so we just encourage and support that to happen. Those of us that did attend the information session from the county heard some information there, but frankly, the whole of this council wasn't there. And I think it's responsible that the county should provide a specific update with respect to the time. I appreciate the comments of the deputy mayor, but frankly, I've been involved in requests for information on the natural heritage piece. Some information has been forthcoming. Other information has not come as yet. It is a huge project. There is no doubt. And in my discussions with county staff, they're dealing with a lot of specific information requests. And the problem is with that, if I can go on, is it's not just mapping. People don't understand it's not just a mapping exercise. Many people don't even understand what the current policies are. So it's much more than just showing on a map where a change is. You have to understand what the policy behind it is. And unfortunately, to this point, that information hasn't been shared as yet. So I understand that piece, but I would hope and encourage our CAO to request the county provide that update. Certainly my concern is for North Perth, but they should be providing it to all county municipalities to say exactly where things are at, so that there's a complete understanding about how we move forward, because I'm getting questions. I'm sure other councillors here are getting questions, and it's fine to say, well, call the county, and they do, and they call back to say, I'm still not sure when this is happening. So encourage and support this, and again, I was in that chair for a long time, so I know full well the amount of work and activity it takes, but the expectations are high in terms of what this means for our community. And we've said we know we're one of the fastest growing communities in all of Ontario, which is wonderful. But when you're trying to plan into the future, it's pretty tough when you've got land that you know is right for development, appropriate for development in terms of, but you can't do it, and you have these expectations behind you. Well, that's why the frustration level's high. So that's, I mean, I'm happy to receive a report from the county, but it should be sooner as opposed to later, that's all.
Would you like to go forward with a resolution with that, or are you satisfied at this point?
Well, I believe that the resolution of previous council was already made, and
okay.
Just perhaps staff could encourage or request the county to come forward with that report sooner rather than later.
Okay. And
Or at
then-
least respond to say, we can't do this because of X, Y, or Z. Then we can deal with that. But they've said nothing, as far as I understand. So
Okay, thank you. And then to your second point, you are requesting a report on the update of the Northeast Master Plan, correct?
yes.
So we would like to move forward. You would like to move that motion?
Yes, I do.
For a report?
Yes.
Okay. So Deputy Clerk, the resolution would be to receive a report to update to receive an update about the Northeast Master Plan. That's moved by Councillor Rothwell. Do you have a seconder for that? Councillor Blazek seconds that motion. And could we have the vote for that, Sarah? And that motion's carried. Thank you. Does anyone else have a report to request? Yes, thank you. Deputy Mayor Callum, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Through you, am I on? Chair Andreessen, not actually a report, but I think it's appropriate this time. I think it would really benefit Councillor Blazek and Councillor Orton, along with myself, refresher, just for council or senior management to think about a road tour, a facilities tour, coming up in May or June. I think that would benefit everyone. Again, it's been a while since we've had one, so not a report, but when you get together, come up with a few dates and maybe we can have one. Thanks.
Do we need a resolution for that? Go ahead, CAO Snell.
If I could quickly add, it's already basically in the planning stages. We'll just find it more appropriate once spring arrives to do it, and it's already being looked after. We're just trying to figure out how many days.
Okay. Thank you. Great idea, Deputy Mayor Callum. Really important for us as a team to, learn more about the municipality that way. Thank you. Any other reports that you'd like to request? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 8, which is about an amendment to the budget meeting schedule. So in your package, the complete policy for budget 2023 is provided, and in that policy lists 6 meeting dates. Those dates have been amended in this current policy at this time, and we're looking to have this amended set of dates approved by council. Originally, there were many dates in February, and they've had to be pushed to March. Part of the reason for that is to provide staff additional time for preparations of their presentations based on this visioning meeting. And secondly, I understand that there could be some more additional challenges with the software. With additional time, it would be helpful. So the dates are listed there. Wednesday, January 11th is today. That's what we are engaging in. The next date is March the 8th, 2023 from 7 o'clock p.m. The next date is Wednesday, March the 15th, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. The next date is Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. Further to that is Wednesday, April the 5th at 2023, 7 o'clock p.m. Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. The purposes of each meeting is shown there on the chart, and that the Municipality of North Perth general operating and capital budget be updated to reflect these amendments. Could I have someone make that motion? Oh, okay. Questions first? Go ahead.
Question, and perhaps the parents with children in the room can respond. March break, these dates could intersect.
Yes, they will.
So I want to understand when March break is for the school system in this area. Guess I'm not enough of a current part to be able to answer that question, but perhaps Councillor Blazek.
Go ahead, Councillor Blazek.
Children will be off of school from the 13th to the 17th, and a good way to remember that is our beloved Patty Fest March break always falls on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to just ask Becky Belfour, our Deputy Treasurer, We had looked at the possibility of not needing one of these dates. Is it possible to remove the March 15th date? What are your thoughts on that? And moving it?
The plan was to try to fit everything in for the capital presentation on the 15th, and if we needed it, would be the 22nd. So I think with the new software, we may be able to handle everything on the 22nd. And if need be, we could put some final touches on the April 5th meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you for your flexibility on that. So, what we can do is we can look at removing that date and amending the budget meetings to 5 instead of 6. 5 instead of 6 meetings. So the first one coming up would be March the 8th, 2023, March the 22nd, 2023, April the 5th, 2023, and April the 19th, 2023. So could I have someone make a motion to approve those new upcoming dates? Okay, Councillor Nordum moves that, and Councillor Enstedt seconds that. Okay. Any other discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Rothwell.
Thanks very much. I certainly understand the reason why we're deferring these dates. I'm always mindful of the fact that we're basically more than a quarter of the way through the year before we're actually setting our budget. But I think the forethought behind part of this, or the strength or reasoning why some of our pre-budget approvals were given to staff, that they could go forward and get estimates or quotes on projects, is that it does give some flexibility, a lot more flexibility than having a hard start date after a budget approval. But I just want to confirm that this hopefully would be as late as we would be going, and then in subsequent years, hopefully we'll be moving this backwards once we have another year of software under our belt, so that we could get back closer towards the start of the year as opposed to the quarter of the way through the year. Just a comment. As I say, I fully understand the reason why we're doing this, but I just want to make sure that certainly for our new councillors, but also the public, that understands that this is later as opposed to earlier, which is our hopeful intent, that we will get budget approval. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Rothwell. I totally appreciate your concerns, and I actually share your concerns. My preference would have always been to pass the budget much, much earlier in the year, and my hope is that in the future that can be done through this new software. We really need to be passing budgets, much faster, and perhaps the budget for 2024 needs to begin probably, before summer ends, for sure. Did you want to make a comment, Becky Belfour? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Andreessen, Council. With the new software, we will be rolling the budget over for 2024 as soon as the 2023 is passed. So staff will be able to start initiating that process and will be brought forward sooner for next year. That is the plan. So,
CEO Chris Snell.
And I think, obviously, I certainly agree with Councillor Rothwell. I think one of the problems we have, though, is the election year always causes us a hiccup with a delay. The election timing for budgeting purposes is terrible, but we certainly, this is always an issue with the first budget after election, but I can certainly agree with Becky. We'll be starting 2024 with a new budget software as soon as this one's completed, and will be hopefully a much more ongoing process versus start and stop.
Thank you, and that's a very fair comment for sure. So this resolution has been moved and seconded regarding the amendments to the budget meeting schedule. Any other comments? Let's have that vote. Thank you. And that's carried. Thank you. We're now on item number 9 of our agenda. And this is regarding the confirmatory bylaw. Bylaw number 4-2023 being a bylaw to confirm generally previous actions of the Council of the Municipality of North Perth be introduced, read, considered, read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Chair and the Clerk and sealed with the seal of the Corporation. Do I have someone to move that? Thank you, Councillor Rothwell, and seconded by Deputy Mayor Kellum. And if we could have that vote, please. And that's carried. So we're now on item 10 of the agenda, and this is not debatable. And this is about adjournment for this evening. And my paper's messed up. That the Council of North Perth meeting adjourns at 8:40 p.m. to meet again for General Council business on Monday, January 16th, 2023 at 7 o'clock p.m. Moved by Mayor Kasenberg and seconded by Councillor Anstead. And we'll have that vote. And that's carried. Thank you very much, Council, for your contributions and staff for your assistance.